All right, Countless Times by Mars. Good morning, guys. Good morning. Good morning. I know this is not my regular time, and I know I put out a message and said that I'm taking some time away from the morning show, and I am. Just have some things that I need to work out and to try to line up in my private life, but and also just trying to figure out a way to get some things done so I can do this more often. I actually have some guests that I'm lining up to bring in to have some conversation. But I wanted to have this conversation this morning. Um, and as a mental health professional, as a crisis specialist, that's what I am. So allow me to introduce myself again. I am Keith K.L. Belvin, crisis specialist, educator, author. When I come on with the intent to entertain, educate, and to inform. And if I could do one of those three things, and if I could do all three of those things, then I did what I was supposed to do when this camera is on. But this morning, I wanted to come on as a mental health professional and as an educator and as a father. And wearing multiple hats, a lot of times when you see the news, I have multiple feelings. And I've been backing up from social media because I find that you get caught up into some of these rabbit holes and you don't get as much work done if you start surfing and all other stuff. But that's, secondary. So yesterday and today, I've been watching all the posts about R. Kelly and his verdict and him being guilty. And he still has two other cases that he has to go through. So he's going to probably get additional time. So I want to say this first. Let me just get this out of the way because I want to make sure it's clear because I never know who's going to watch. And I want to make sure, and I always want to make sure that what I say is taken the right way and is clear. First of all, R. Kelly deserves to be found guilty. If half of what he is being charged for is true, he needs to go to jail forever. But he's found guilty. He went to court, found guilty. I got all of that. All right? So let me just say that first. If you committed those type of crimes against women, and as a person who focuses mainly on women, I know the damage of what someone like R. Kelly can do to young and older women. So let's first get that off the table is that yes, he deserves to be found guilty of the crimes of what he did. It is what it is. But here's the reason why I wanted to come on. We're celebrating the guilty verdict. A lot of people are. And I know some people are still trying to process, like, wow, somebody of such talent, throwing it all away. But here's what I want to point out to many of you. And this is what I do for a living. Many of us who have been abused in our lifetime, myself included, when I was 7, 8 years old, it affects you in ways that you may not realize well into your adult years and sometimes well into your much older years. Like now, I'm 53, I'm about to be 54 in a couple of months. I have been lucky enough to be able to diagnose what happened with me, deal with what happened with me, and be in a position where now I can help other people who have went through what I went through. And so I deal with women who have been abused and raped and men as well as children. And I'm able to accept and deal with that because I accepted what went on with me, got help for it, I'm good. But one of the things we don't talk about is that this is bittersweet because here's a young man in Robert Kelly who has admitted his own abuse, but I don't know if he ever got help for it. And when God blesses you with so much talent, and with all of that talent, you still could not fix, with all the wealth, you still could not fix what was wrong. And so as an abused person, you went out and abused people. Now we hear all the time, hurt people hurt people. I want you to understand that because some of you watching right now may not have R. Kelly's wealth, but you're holding on to R. Kelly's type pain. And when we get to celebrating things of this nature, listen, if he's guilty, he's guilty. But what we as the folks who are trying to help folks in a mental space have to consider is, where could somebody have stepped in? Where could somebody had maybe healed this man so those talents could have been used in a way that could have helped so many more people? Because he changed the life of a lot of people through his music. That goes without question. That doesn't change. You literally have people now saying, I'm still going to listen to his music. That's the effect that his music has on people. And that's a beautiful thing, except for the person behind it wasn't beautiful. But my challenge to all of you is, do you really understand the type of thing that happens to a person when they're abused? Understand what that is like to walk around with the memories of being abused when you were younger. It's not what you think. And it's not as easy to deal with. Just because you acknowledge it does not mean you know how to deal with it. And I think the thing that bothers me more is that, people are talking as if there's not hundreds of thousands of individuals like R. Kelly out there. They just don't get heard from because they're not famous, and they're abusing people as well, but they're hurting people well. So we have to take this verdict and find a way to run with it. We have to take this verdict and find a way to open up the door to conversations on being able to fix our past, being able to fix the pains that we've suffered. We don't need more men or women in the prison industrial complex. We don't. But if you don't deal with the individuals who have been abused, this is what we're going to have. More and more people who are in a situation like R. Kelly don't know how to deal with what happened to him. So what happens? They go out and do it to somebody else. I hate to say textbook, but it is. And most of you know it because you say it yourselves. Hurt people hurt people. Who fixes that? Who repairs that? People like me and other folks who are out here trying to see people heal. This is not a time to celebrate that a man of such immense talent threw it all away because he couldn't control himself. And he's out here hurting people because he was hurt. And what are we doing about the parents who put their own children into a situation where now they may be out here abusing people because they was abused by this man? So this mix is not what you think it is. And this is never a good thing to celebrate the downfall of somebody else. If you commit a crime, you're in jail. I said that. But we don't celebrate that. We don't celebrate when somebody of immense talent throw it away. We got to find a way to teach others not to do that, to get the help they need. You hear me say all the time, you hear me say all the time, we can fix this. And you know why? Because I believe that. I believe that we can fix it. I believe that if somebody at some point in R. Kelly's life had not focused on talent, but focused on things, didn't happen. This man is probably going to be in jail for quite some time because he has two other cases, one in Minnesota and one in Illinois. So he may not see the light of day for quite some time. But how many other people out there are suffering from the damage done by other R. Kellys? How many folks are out there being brought into a world where they're going to become the R. Kelly in their circles? And what are we, as the people celebrating R. Kelly right now, incarcerated, mourning that R. Kelly is incarcerated, debating on whether we're going to listen to his music or not because of who he was and who he is and all this other foolishness, but never actually saying, wasn't he abused when he was younger? Didn't he suffer from abuse? And maybe that's why he was out abusing people. So how do we fix that? How do we make sure it doesn't happen again? No, we don't do that. We spend more time criticizing and judging and pointing fingers because it's easy to do. There's no in judgment. That's why God says don't do it. There's nothing to be earned. But because we all have platforms like this, getting on and saying, how do we fix this? And we get on and go, ha, 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 you lied. Well, here's the problem. Many of the artists never come to justice. Many of the artists create of themselves because they were abused. And it never gets the light of day. Many people abused will never actually admit they carry that pain around with them every day. And their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their husbands, their wives is trying to figure out why they act the way they do because they never got help. Why, when they get hugged, they react the way they do. When they're in the middle of making love, they react a certain way. Why, when certain songs and certain sounds and certain smells, when they're taken in, they break down and start crying. And you say, whoa, get yourself together, because you don't understand that they're suffering from abuse, the remnant of abuse. And many of us in the church who are supposed to be reaching out and offer the healing, the first one's pointing fingers. The first one's laughing. The first one's judging. I've seen more church folks posting about R. Kelly, which I'm like, really? Are you really rocking R. Kelly and then selling your Bible on the same end? It's okay if you do, but how come you don't admit it? And we're more talkative about the abuser than the abuse, than the people who have been abused. We're more vocal about the abusers than the healing. Sounds kind of familiar, right? Shout out to my church folks. Nobody wants to actually get into the healing. And you know why? Ain't no money and ain't no prestige in the healing. I've known that for a long time, but I do it because I know I'm trying to prevent somebody from abusing somebody like I was abused. Yeah, I was abused, 7 years old. It's what actually started me down the road of hypersexuality. So I was doing the same things R. Kelly was doing, except I just wasn't out here raping, or I guess it's because of my age. I didn't choose young girls, never dug them. Because the person that abused me was an older woman, but I was a little older, so that led me in a direction of older women. But I started having my first child when I was 14. Yeah. So my oldest is almost 39. So if we're not going to put our own dirt out there, that's the reason why I wrote my book, From Gigolo to Jesus. I'm going to put mine out there. I want you to see what I want you to see what happened. And I want you to understand I wrote this book because somebody needs to read my story and be like, my God. Was I making babies that early? Yes, I was. So when you hear me talk, you understand it, because somebody needs that. And that's what I mean about the power of what R. Kelly could have done. Is that if he had took his platform and said, hey, I make this fantastic music, but I suffer from this and I'm going to go get help for it. Does he still get locked up? Maybe. But he did sure changes the lives of many more people if I'm going to put financial resources behind it. Instead, he just kept recreating the things that was the quality that we all love, but the whole time behind the scenes, he's out here abusing people's children, and people are bringing the meat to the wolves because they saw his star shining and his prestige as well. You know how when you really think about the logic behind that, you heard the rumors. So instead of investigating, here, come take my child. We saw the video or whatever, we're not sure, and it was a rough joke, him having urinated on a little girl. But what happens? We can celebrate this man. So how sick does that make us as a people? Yeah, Chocolate Factory was outstanding. Yeah, 12 Play was outstanding. Yes, he made great music. But how many of us ignored the signs that were clearly there, and now we want to point fingers of good for you? Yeah, what about us? What about us? Who's going to step and say, yeah, I dropped the ball on that one, Keith? No, they're going to point fingers and be like, wow, Kels is in jail. That's messed up. What happened to Kels? Really? That's what we doing? That's what we doing. Of course, that's what we're doing. And it's going to be talked about. And now you give the media something to run with. The great R. Kelly incarcerated for, and they love that because any opportunity to run a black man further under the dirt, they're going to take. And some people are going to say, but this ain't the media because this black man for up. But go back to my point. At what point do we understand abuse? I said, I believe he did a crime, he goes to jail. I said that. What I'm looking at is the other parts. Everything else that we don't look at. And I don't know who needed to hear this morning. I don't know who put up the F. Kells post. And let me tell you something. You're going to see a lot of good for him. And I'm glad and I'm happy. Some of those people are the ones that are abused. And that's their way of calling out, saying that they wish it was the person that abused them. Hear what I just said to you. Some of the good for him, he deserves it. Trash, pig, and all the other nasty emojis are really signals that they were abused too, but they won't say anything. And most of us are not in a position to understand how to even help that. So again, what's that say about us? What's that say about our use of social media? And I want to see more mental health clinicians over the next couple of days address this. I haven't seen it yet. I see mental health folks talking the same thing. Well, I hope he gets the help. What about the people who actually created this? Remember, somebody had to buy his music. Somebody had to be fanning out over him to get to that level. What about those folks and the abusers who are in that crowd, or the people who are being abused in that crowd? How do we deal with that? So before you celebrate the downfall, ask yourself, did you play a role in it? Any part? I'm just asking you to check it. Because somebody around you is the victim of somebody like R. Kelly in your circles. Somebody around me is the victim of someone like R. Kelly in my circle. Well, for me, I'm stepping up. I'm putting a clarion call out. If you need help, I'm here. If you've been abused, I'm here. If you're the abuser, I'm here. Yes, I'm not scared to sit across from an abuser. They need help too. If you're a Christian, yeah, I'm going to call you out directly. If you're a Christian, where's the forgiveness? Where's the forgiveness that we were supposed to be taught? Scared to do it because people are going to come at you because of their love for R. Kelly or your love for Jesus? Which is it? Because I noticed that I don't see enough church folks even offering forgiveness. Isn't that the anchor of our faith? Isn't that what we're supposed to emulate? Feed thy enemy? Feed thy enemy, for the Lord will dump burn coals of shame on their heads. Can we do that? Have we gotten to the point? No. Lecture for you. No, we haven't. Look at the judgment. Look at the judgment that offered on a regular basis online. So where's my Christian folks? Now you see why I try to create mental health ministries. Because there's folks sitting in church right now knowing they can't say anything because the church will judge them long before they help them. So we have folks who suffering from what R. Kelly's victims suffered from and can't get any help because those who are supposed to be the help don't even make it clear. Yeah, I said it. Ask any Christian you know, do you feel comfortable standing up in your church and giving your testimony about how you were abused by someone like R. Kelly? Ask them, do they feel comfortable? And every one of them will say, not in my church. Not out in public, no. In private, maybe. Why? But we're supposed to emulate Jesus, right? Okay. Be careful who you point fingers at. Be careful for who you celebrate being locked up. He's just one that got caught. And right now, there's somebody at your job, in your circle, who's been carrying the weight of 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, 70 years. Yes, I have clients in their 70s still suffering from the damage done to them when they were children. So before you celebrate the downfall of one, ask who assisted in propping them up to be before he even fell. who helped him get to that level without ever addressing what was done to him, what he's doing to others. We realize, so there's no positive here. It's a negative. But I pray for R. Kelly. I pray for the victims. I pray for the people surrounding him. And I pray for us. Because if we're not trying to fix this, we're part of the problem. I'll leave you with that. Now, before I go, I want to give a shout out to Chef Danielle Moore, the owner of Ethel and Annie Mae's Soul Food Kitchen, 497 Albany Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn. And I speak about her not just because she's one of my sponsors, because she's somebody who's rocked with me, even when I was trying to figure it out. And it's been, I think I did the math, it's almost 11 years, 10, 11 years. And she has supported me. She's bought books. She's been there for Tiff and I. Let me tell you something. You rock with those who rock with you and leave the door open for everybody else. But take care of the people who take care of you and leave the door open for everybody else. So shout out to Chef Danielle. Make sure you go by her website, Ethel and Annie Mae's Soul Food Kitchen. She mails meals out around the country. If you're in Brooklyn and Queens, in New York City area, she has Grubhub and Uber Eats in place. I just got some cakes in a jar that she sells. It was carrot cake and red velvet cake. Girl, you did your thing. I'm going to support mine, and I'm going to support those that I know are doing well. I just hooked up some folks to do some things. I'm not going to sit here and just name names because I'm not name dropping. I just want you to know you got to be the change you want to see in the world. That's not mine. That's from Gandhi. Gandhi said, be the light you want to see in the world. And that's exactly what I'm trying to do. And I pray that somebody watching this today just stops and thinks about what's going on and challenges themselves and actually says to themselves, am I trying to help those who have been hurt by somebody like R. Kelly? Or am I actually fostering somebody like R. Kelly? Because someone like R. Kelly is in our family. Don't act like you don't know, because there is. And that's what I'm concerned about. And that's who I'm trying to help. And I pray this helps somebody. Please like this. Please comment. Please share. You ain't got to tag anybody today. Because one of the things that I'm doing, and the reason why you won't see me on, is that I'm trying to figure out how to change the engagement part. Because I want to be able to interact with many of you more often, because I'm building on some things that are pretty big. And I'm not going to say anything until I can secure them. But at the same time, I want to make sure that if somebody needs help, they can get it. And I'm going to continue to try to be a force for good the best that I can until the Lord calls me home. All right. I want you to have a wonderful day, guys. Remember, like this, share this, comment. Let me hear what you think. If you think I'm completely wrong, post it. If you agree, post it. Let me hear from you. Today's not a great day because somebody got locked down. It just means another talent locked up. We still got to get those people he hurt. Help those who are being hurt right now. Some help. Have a wonderful day, guys. Take care. God bless. Let's go. We got here. Let's go. We got it. Oh, that's a commercial. No music today. Let me see what we got here. All right, let me get out of here. Have a good one, guys. God bless.